Rebuilding my life at 51 didn't just affect my income, it shook my identity. And for weeks, when I leaned into content creation, I was just reacting. I was posting, planning, and panicking at the same time, just trying to stay productive so I didn't feel like I was behind or I didn't feel like I wasn't adding something. But here's something that I realized when it comes to that is that reacting is not actually rebuilding. So I stopped moving so emotionally and I decided to say, I need a structured plan that I can build from to intentionally rebuild my life. So today I'm going to share with you exactly what I'm doing to intentionally rebuild my life at 51. When you lose your job at this stage in life, it's not just financial. It really does become more personal because you lose your routine, you lose a sense of certainty, and you lose a title that you work really hard for. I worked 25 years to get to the leadership title that I had when I got laid off. And I had to realize something really quickly. It was that I wasn't trying to just replace my income. I was trying to replace my identity. And when you do that, that becomes a dangerous thing. Because when you rebuild from a place of panic or a place of loss and just trying to figure things out, you will actually try almost everything. You will say yes to everything. You will try everything. You will completely exhaust yourself just trying to figure out how to stay relevant, how to figure out what your value is, right? And how to keep yourself going. And what I had to do is that I had to be honest with myself. I was not lacking motivation. I was just lacking direction. I didn't know which way I needed to go to find who that woman was that I wanted to become. When you're 50, guessing can be very expensive and in terms of emotionally expensive, where you have this sense of hopelessness, this sense of, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I don't know how this is going to work out. It's fear, it's panic, it's doubt. And then it becomes emotionally expensive because now you're dealing with depression, anxiety. It's that overwhelming feeling of just so much pressure on you when you don't know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And then it becomes financially expensive because now your bills are piling up. You're taking whatever you save and you're trying to make sure you can just function daily. And that is expensive. Then you drain the things you have and then you're just putting out and there's no input. And so I had to stop asking, what can I do right now? I was in that state of what can I do right now? What do I need to do? And I was stressing myself out so bad that it began to affect my health. It started affecting my health, my blood pressure, I'm not eating right. So I'm on the verge of being diabetic. I'm on high cholesterol, everything. My legs are swollen. It really started taking a real toll on my body. So at this age in my life, it can be so expensive to try to guess your way through things. And so I had to shift my mindset, which wasn't easy, but I had to shift and I had to start asking myself, who am I becoming? Who is this woman I'm becoming? When you have your job, you have your career path laid out in front of you. So you kind of know where you're going. When that job is taken away from you, the job, the title, the salary, you don't know what your next move is. You don't know who you're becoming. You're kind of lost in that. But when I asked myself that question and I was able to answer, who am I becoming? That changed everything for me. So here's the 4-part plan I'm using to rebuild my life at 51. Number 1 is identity before income. I feel like before I try to make another dollar, I had to decide who was I becoming in this next chapter of my life? Who was this woman after 50, right? Who was this woman who lost her job? Who was this woman rebuilding? Was I rebuilding out of fear or was I rebuilding strategically? And honestly, if I'm really honest with myself, when I first got laid off, I was rebuilding out of fear. I had to replace the income, the title, the routine. I had to make sure I had something to do. It felt like a state of panic, but that's just where I was. I was in a place of fear, like I've just lost my job, which never happened to me before. And I now have to replace everything because the income is gone. This big salary is gone. I have to replace it. And so I wasn't thinking strategically. I was just thinking and planning out of fear. And so I had to stop defining myself by that old title, that old routine. I had to stop holding on to that. And I had to start defining myself by my future direction. And in my future, who do I see her being? I see her as someone who is not a slave to her alarm clock anymore because she has to wake up at a certain time to get to work. I see myself as someone who doesn't have to work out at 5 a.m. anymore because I'm not rushing out the door. I see myself as someone who's able to get up in the morning, make herself breakfast, have a cup of coffee, sit down and actually enjoy it. Have a slow morning, work out in a time frame that fits me versus me just having to do it early. I see her as someone who's able to spend more time with her mother, who is suffering from dementia. I see myself as someone who travels more, who invests in others more, who's able to spend more time with the kids, the grandkids, who's able to create memories and just do so much more with herself, being able to give back, inspire other women like me to know that we can redefine and rebuild ourselves and still come out on top. That's who I saw this woman becoming. That's who I saw my future direction. And because I'm not just someone who lost that job title, I am a woman rebuilding intentionally and strategically. And that shift matters very much, because when your identity is clear, your direction gets clearer. And I felt like that's such an important thing to remember, because when we don't know who we are, how can we move forward? We move forward in a very fearful way. We don't move forward with a plan. We move forward emotionally. And then our emotions are all over the place. And so the things we're doing to replace income, to give us back the value we thought we lost, is all over the place as well. And we just feel overwhelmed, stressed out, and hopeless. And I wanted to shift that and define myself and know who my identity is before I start to monetize off of it. The second part of this plan is my structured income strategy, where I decided that I will never depend on one paycheck ever again. And I want you guys to understand, this is not out of fear. This is out of just wisdom. The knowledge that I now have that when you depend on one paycheck to fund everything in your life, and when that one paycheck is gone, things fall because of that. And I will never again live in a space where one paycheck is going to be enough to actually help me survive at this age. What I realize is that security isn't in one stream. It's structured. That's what it really is. And so instead of me scrambling to make quick money, like, it's cool, we can use Instacart and Uber Eats. Those are instant cash things that we can use. But I decided to map out a layered income strategy, which included brand deals, digital products, affiliate links like LTK and Amazon storefront, Shop My, and content monetization, platform monetization, being able to get paid from YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and, all those different things, because that is a proven income path, which is why I decided to put it as part of my layer income strategy. Not any more random hustles for me anymore. It's now really about intentional streams of income that can help me really rebuild my life, really rebuild my foundation financially, and put me on a path to become financially secure. I can tell you right now, even if I was to get a job offer today and I accept that job offer, I will still do these things in order to make sure that nothing falls and that when I don't depend on one job anymore. That's not an income security. We have to remember that. And I make sure that these intentional streams all support the bigger picture in my life, in the woman who I'm becoming, the life I want to live, the opportunities I want to give other people. I feel like this next chapter in my life, I want to be able to teach women my age on how to have this layered structured income to support the things that we want to do, to support your retirement, to support your next chapter in life. The third thing I want to talk about is authority before visibility, because I decided to become a full-time content creator. After losing my job, looking for jobs, cannot find a job, still can't find one. Content creation to me was like the next step, because I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it full time. And so this is where I actually burned myself out, right? I almost burned myself out, because at first I thought the answer was just posting more. Everyone tell you to post more, post content, post 20, 50 times a day. This is posting more, we'll get it, right? More videos, more reels, just more effort, right? But more effort without structure just creates exhaustion. I felt exhausted. I'm putting all this content out and I don't see it actually building community. I don't see it actually moving any numbers. And so I had to step back and really think about, I need to change how I create content. I just can't create content that I want to give people, right? But it was an opportunity also for me to give people a side of me that I didn't do I didn't show at work, like my creativity, my love for skincare, for, my love for beauty, my love for being able to teach women my age certain things. And so I was like, okay, I'm being able to inspire women, right? So I was like, okay, so I really need to think about how I want to create content. I had to step back. I had to look at big creators on how they do it, how they're so successful at it. And not just big creators who are younger than me, but also big creators who are my age and older, who are really successful at content. And I had to realize that they don't just wake up and just post scattered posts. They don't just wake up and just randomly post. Each of them have a structure, but they all have a strategy. And I had to change my strategy. And I decided that I'm going to focus on one core topic per week, because that makes more sense to me. And every content that I create will just kind of branch from that. No more me waking up asking, what am I going to post today? That was exhausting. I felt like it was a lot of pressure on me too. If I wake up every day trying to figure out what I want to post every day, then I'm putting myself under a lot of pressure to make sure I put something out. And if I don't put something out, then I feel disappointed. So what I decided to do was that I decided to build a simple blueprint for myself, because guessing every day was just draining my energy. And I didn't want to be in that space where I felt pressured. I wanted this to be easy. If I get to control this, decide this, then I want it to be easy for me. I want it to be enjoyable. And so instead of chasing visibility, I started building my authority, because that was truly what really helps build community. I don't think about going viral. I don't think about, what can I say to get people going? I think about, what value can I add? What can I teach someone? What skill do I have that someone might think is valuable to them? Or how can people understand my story and my journey and maybe see themselves in it? That's how I started thinking about it. And to me, that made me feel a lot more calmer. That made me feel stronger. And I feel like this is more of a sustainable strategy that I can use to actually see my content creation produce income. So the last part of my plan isn't about money. It's about energy, because rebuilding requires a certain type of stamina, right? A certain type of energy. And I have to be more intentional now about my health, because I told you, when you're going through something like this and you're dealing with this type of thing, your health get affected. You begin to gain weight, you fall into depression, blood pressure is high. All these things can be really off balance. So I had to be more intentional about my health. I had to be more intentional about the routines I choose. I had to be more intentional about my confidence, because when you lose your job, it takes a blow to your confidence. And I even had to be more intentional about how I present myself, and not because of some type of vanity metric, but for alignment. And I had to even be careful about the conversations I entertain, the people I entertain, because if you're constantly around people who are doubting you, who are questioning everything you're doing, who are judging you, who are telling you you're not doing enough, then that really affects you mentally, emotionally, and physically. And you have to remove those type of people from your circle. So I had to be more intentional about everything in my life, because I get to choose that, because this part I get to create myself, not by somebody else leading it, not by a job leading it or a company, but because I'm leading this one. When you look grounded, you show up grounded. And I know that rebuilding your life requires energy, not just effort. This part of my life is about being joyful, doing the things that I truly enjoy, being around people that I enjoy. And so I want to be able to have the energy. I want to be able to have the motivation to do it. And that's why I have to be intentional about my lifestyle, about my health, about the routines that I create for myself, because it's all about me this time. I think for once in my life, at this stage of my life, I get an opportunity to choose me first. I get an opportunity to put me first. And it's nothing selfish about that, because I'm not a selfish person. I don't think any of us act in a selfish way. I think sometimes in our life, we have to realize when we have to put us first and what we want first, not what anybody else wants. That's an important part of rebuilding your life at a certain stage in life, at a certain stage in your life. You can finally decide to live for you. So I want to say this: if you're over 40 and you're starting over right now, here's what I want you to know. Don't panic. Don't try to rebuild from panic. I need you to rebuild from a structure. It's important to not panic and not try to rebuild from there, because it's just going to create chaos for you. I don't want you to just chase income. I need you to chase clarity. You need to clearly identify who you are becoming in this next chapter, who you're becoming now after this shift in your life. And if content creation is something you want to do, don't just post randomly. Build your authority intentionally online. Confidence doesn't come from motivation, it comes from clarity. And clarity comes from structure. When you have a plan, a structure, you are clear in your direction and where you want to go. And it matters to do that. And I'm rebuilding my life publicly, and I'm rebuilding it with a plan, which is why I like to share in these videos. But if you're someone who is leaning into content creation at the age of 40 and over, 50, 60, whatever it may be, and if you want a structured plan, I will link my simple blueprint that I use to create content down below, and you can use it to help you start building your authority online. And it really does help because I feel like you don't have to guess your way through this next chapter. You can actually have a plan, and you can use this video to jumpstart your plan for rebuilding your life the way you want it to be. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.